Hey guys, this is Brent with Western Equipment, and in this video I'm going to be telling you everything you need to know about the brand new to 2021 John Deere Z365R. So let's get started. So let's start with model numbers, as these can always be confusing, being as that there's so many different models within these different series of mowers. So we'll break it down here. First, starting with the Z, this is going to mean that this is a zero-turn mower. Next, we have 3, which is going to indicate the series that this mower is in. So, for instance, this is in the Z3 category. In the John Deere zero-turn lineup, there are also such things as Z5s, Z7s, and Z9s. So Z3, this will be the starting class of the zero-turn mowers. Now, the 65 here is going to indicate what all types of features and functions this particular mower is going to have, such as what size of deck, what type of engine setup it's going to have, things of that sort. And then next is going to be an R, which is our trim level. Now, within John Deere mowers and other types of equipment, they use a certain trim level specification systems, with E being economy, M being mid-spec, and R being your upper level model in this trim lineup. So you're going to see certain features on these R series mowers that you will not see maybe in the M or the E series. It's going to be your most loaded out package. Now, like I said in the beginning, the Z365R is brand new as to 2021. So within the Z365R are going to be some new features, as you would expect. So let's start here at the engine and talk about some of those things that are going to differentiate this model from those prior models in 2020. So in 2020, we had only a Z345R, Z355R, and Z375R in the Z3R lineup specifically. But now we have this addition of the Z365R to give customers some new options in this lineup. So for one, we are going to have the addition of the 24 horsepower ELS Briggs & Stratton engine. Now, before, you had the option of the 22 horsepower in the Z355R and then a 25 horsepower ELS on the Z375R. So with the Z365R, we now have an option right in between there at 24 horse, and again, we do have the extended life series. Now, you may be asking, what is the ELS engine? Well, the ELS is an engine that is truly designed to have a longer life. And how that is that Briggs & Stratton has gone in and put some premium components in this engine, such as chrome plated valves. Also, you're going to have a premium bearing package in this engine, and also an advanced debris management system, meaning that right here at our air filter, you're going to have some extra ports here to allow that debris, dust, dirt, whatever those things are, to escape a lot easier before making it to your filter, and making sure to keep that engine cleaner, keeping the air cleaner that's going through it when cooling this engine down. Now, another new feature to this mower specifically is that it will have the easy change oil system, as you see right over here. Now, this is going to be the first zero turn in the John Deere lineup, period, that has this easy change oil system. Now, this is something that John Deere has been doing for a couple of years now on its tractor model riding mowers, but now we have a zero turn with this easy change oil system. Very easy. As it says in the name, guys, it's as simple as taking this preloaded canister filter off, taking it out, putting in a new one, and then you're done with your oil change. Now, like I said, it does take 30 seconds, but it does only replace 0.8 quarts of the engine oil. So if that is a concern to you, you can always change this back to a normal drain and filter system. But this has been tested many times by John Deere to see how this performs by only changing the 0.8 quarts. And for the residential customer, this is going to be a great option here. Saves you time in changing that oil, and also makes things just a lot easier when doing that at-home maintenance. Now, while we're talking about maintenance, let's talk about a few of the other maintenance points that are on this engine. We'll start right here on top. This is going to be our air filter housing. Super easy to get to. We just have 2 hand screws here on top that we would loosen up, take this cover off, and then we can change our air filter right here, put our cover back on, and we're ready to go. Next would be our fuel filter. Super easy to get to over here on the side. One thing that I've always liked to point out on these Z3s is just how nice and open everything is, and how easy it is to service these machines. So next up is going to be our spark plug. Now, this is a V-twin engine, so we'll have a spark plug on this side and also a spark plug on the corresponding side as well. And then lastly here on this side, we will have a dipstick. It will be yellow with a yellow cap, having the oil emblem on it so you know that this is your dipstick where you can check that oil level and also add oil if needed. Since we were talking about service points, let's go ahead and get underneath the seat here and show just a couple of things. Now, when we need to be reminded of when these services are supposed to happen, we should have a service reminder pop up right here on our hour meter, and that's going to remind us to take a look at our service interval chart, which is right here made onto this cover underneath the seat. And then also these things will be shown in your operator manual, but just in case you happen to lose that, it gets thrown in a drawer, we can't find it, you do always have that service interval chart right here underneath the seat. And then also another very helpful thing is you will have a belt routing guide here that'll help you whenever you're needing to change those belts on this mower, as we know that from time to time we have a belt break or we get in a situation, or maybe it's just old and worn out. You can see right here on how to reroute that new belt as well. Now, what this cover is this is actually going to be our battery cover. So this is a very important service part right here, is it is a cover to get to our battery compartment and then also to our fuse panel, which is tucked right back underneath here. You'll be able to see it whenever you're underneath, very easy to get to. And then once we close that back up, your battery is covered. Now, it is not weatherproofed. As you can see right there, the battery was dirty. So we do need to be making sure that we're taking a look at this every once in a while, looking for corrosion, cleaning this out along with the rest of our mower. Now, when we move forward here, we have another storage compartment. This is going to be just a storage compartment. So what you'll see a lot of times on brand new mowers is the operator manual is in this compartment. But once you take that out, you do just have room here to carry some onboard tools or whatever those things may be. But once again, guys, keep in mind that this is not a weatherproof compartment. So you don't want to put anything in here that could possibly be damaged by weather. Now, talking about the operator station, let's start with the most important part, as this is where you are going to spend all of your time whenever you're on this mower, and that is the seat. So what we have here is going to be an 18-inch back seat, very soft, very plush. You are going to have the addition of the armrests here on both sides. Whether you choose to use them or not, you can use those. I personally like them to kind of help keep me in the seat on this thing. It does have that nice bucket design. It has a few little bits of indentation here to add for a little bit of airflow. And then you'll also see right here in the center, we do have a drain hole. So if this machine does sit outside and happen to collect water, that is going to go ahead and drain out the bottom of the seat there. Now, this seat is going to be adjustable fore and aft, so you will have an adjustment lever here to where you can make those adjustments fore or aft to help fit those operators. And then you will also have a dual spring suspension system here on the seat, and also you will have right here a safety switch on this seat. And what this is going to be a safety switch to make sure there is an operator in the seat whenever running this mower. So now let's talk a little bit about getting onto the mower here, guys. And this is one thing that can sometimes be a problem for operators with zero turns, is that you do have to step up and onto the mower. But just keep in mind, you want to try to have those 3 points of contact. So you do have a lever here and a lever here that you can use to get on. Maybe we're using the armrest and a lever. But this is one thing to keep in mind, that if you are that person that maybe has mobility issues or getting onto things is a little bit hard for you, you may want to think about that and think about if this is going to be the right choice for you. So now we'll go ahead and get onto the mower here. And one thing I like to point out is that I'm a pretty decent sized guy. I'm 5'10", about 275, and this mower is comfortable for me. I can pull the sticks in. I have room to go backwards. Even though I'm touching myself, I'm fully in the back position, and then I have room to go all the way forward here. And these adjustments, you do, on these levers, you do have adjustments here to where these can be adjusted up and down, and they can be adjusted forward and backward to fit those different operators. So while we're here on the left hand side where we can see, a couple of things I'll point out, maybe just a bit hard to see here, but you are going to have your fuel tank fill right over here on the left hand side, and then right down along the side of it you will have a drain off spot here. So once you were to have any overfill on this machine, that gas is not going going to build up and stay here on your mower. It will drain out the side. Then of course, like we talked about, we do have our control levers here. Now these are going to be a more premium style lever on the R. So what that means is you're going to have a little bit more curvature. As you can see, we have some curves out and then up, and then they come a little higher than what they would on an M or an E model. And they give you a few more positions here to pick what's most comfortable for you. So that is an upgraded option whenever you go to the R trim level. Now also over here on the left hand side, very important, is we do have our parking brake right here. Now when you're going to start this mower, this is very important because you have to have this park brake engaged like it is now to start the mower. So if I were to put this down and try to start this mower, I will not get anything. But if I raise this up and I have my levers out and I have my blades off, I can go ahead and start the mower as you see right there. So very important that you know where that is. So now let's move over here to the right hand side and go over the controls over here. So on the right hand side, first thing we'll talk about is our deck height adjustment. And so what we have here is a hand lever along with a foot raise, as you can see right out here. So right now I'm sat down in a mowing position. I'm at the 3-inch position, and how I'm sat there is with a pin that goes through this hole and notch system here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push on my foot lever, raise this up and put it up into travel mode. And then now if I wanted to change my height of cut position, I can simply roll this pin over, pull it out, move it to the spot that I want it, slide it back in here, let that fall down, and then I can simply pull over to the side and let that deck sit down on that pin. Now, what's nice about this system is you do have increments from 1 inch all the way up to 4-inch, and they are in 1/4-inch increments as you go down. So you do have a big range of motion here and big range of cut heights that you can choose from. Now, one other thing that does come standard on the Z365R is you will have this lever here on your deck, which is called Mulch Control. So what this does, as we can see with this sticker, is this will change us from side discharge, meaning that we have our chute open over here on the side, or we can pull back. And when we pull back, we're in the closed position. So now we are in mulch mode on this mower. Now moving back, we'll look a little more closely here at our control panel. As you'll see, we have a single lever throttle and choke lever here. So you have a throttle that goes all the way up into high and then all the way back down into low. But if we need to go up into choke, we're going to go all the way to this high position and then push forward. And this is going to be our choke and start position. So once we were to get this mower started in that choke position, then we'd simply pull back, and then right here we're in full speed or full throttle, and then we can dial that back into various different speeds. Now as far as the fuel gauge goes on these Z3 machines, they are not going to have a sight gauge to show you that fuel level anywhere on the mower, but we do have a low fuel light indicator here. So if you are running low on fuel, this will be your indicator, as this will illuminate red whenever you are running low on fuel. Right up here we are going to have our key switch where we have our run position, and then of course our start position if we were to turn all the way to the right. Right behind that we are going to have our hour meter here, and then right next to that we have our PTO or blade engagement. Now how this works is, to turn on the blades we would simply pull up to turn them on, push down to turn them off. Now when you are going to engage these blades, I always like to say be about half throttle. Some people will say to be in full throttle or lower throttle, but I always suggest being right here in the middle. That way you're just taking it easy on that clutch. You aren't too low a speed that it's going to be hard on your belt, and then you aren't at too fast of a speed to put that belt into any extra tension that it doesn't need. So right here about mid throttle, then go ahead and start those blades, and then you can kick it on up into full throttle to get the full rev to be able to cut at the speed that you desire. Now moving back, you are also going to have a couple of cup holders here on this machine. So nice little areas here to keep beverages on board with you while mowing. Now talking a little bit about frame and tire size and some of the specifics that go into these. Now what you will see here on this Z365R is you will have pneumatic tires in the front and in the rear. Now to be at the maximum and the spec PSI ratings for these tires, will want to be at 15 PSI in the front and 10 PSI in the rear. Now this is very important whenever we get into leveling the deck of this machine, and also just to make sure that we are getting the most life out of our tires, is to making sure those tires are to the right specifications. Now one thing about the front is that in our front spindles, we will not actually have bearings in those spindles. What you're actually going to have is bushings in there. So if you start to get a little bit of wobble maybe in that front fork, or you're having a little bit of issues, it's not wanting to turn right, it is going to be as simple as removing that top bolt, taking off that cap, and then replacing our bushings on that front spindle. Now that front tire size is going to be a 13 by 5 by 6, and then our rear tire is going to be a 20 by 9 by 10. So the 20 by 9 by 10 is an upgrade whenever we jump up from the Z365R. So you will have a little bit of wider tire here, and you also have a little bit larger front caster there than you would on the Z345R. And reason being for that is that when you move up into the Z355R and Z365R like we see here, we're moving up to that 48-inch deck, whereas the Z345R only has the 42-inch deck. Now what you'll also notice about the front there is we do have the curvature on both of our front casters that splays those front casters out a little bit wider, and once again that's going to be to help with the weight distribution because of the larger deck. Now what you'll see on a Z345R is those casters will come straight off the front of the mower, whereas these will have that curvature to add to help with that weight. And then also, like I said, these larger back rear tires is also going to help with that weight of that deck and the overall ride quality of this machine. Now let's talk about the transaxles and drive speeds of this machine. Now on the Z365R, we will have the Hydro Gear Easy T transaxle. So those are going to be the actual driving motors of this machine. And what you'll see here is with these is going to be a top speed of 7 miles per hour going forward and a top speed of 3.5 miles an hour going backward. Now one thing that I need to point out about these transaxles is, like most other John Deere mowers, you do have a transaxle relief. That way you can push this mower if you get in one of those situations to where the mower, maybe you have such things as you ran out of gas and you need to get this mower out of a position, or maybe you have some other mechanical failure that happens. We know that things happen with these mowers, and if you just release the park brake but do not release the transaxles, it will be very hard to push this mower out of the way. So where those transaxles releases are located are right here on the inside of this. We simply push them forward and then over into this loop, as we can see right there. And then once those are pushed up and over into position, you have released that transaxle to where you can now freely push this machine if you need to. Now talking a little bit about the mower deck, what we're going to have on the Z365R is the XL Deep 48-inch mower deck. Now what you're going to have here is a stamped 10 gauge deck on this mower, very solid, very heavy. As we can see, we're also going to have reinforcements here on our edging side here, so that way if we're getting up against any curbs or any barriers, any things like that, you do have that extra protection out here on the side. We're also going to have anti-scalping wheels on both corners of the front of the mower deck, and these are adjustable for different cutting heights. So we have our top position here is for in between 1 and 1.5 inch. Our next mark is 1.5 to 2. Our next is from 2 to 3 inches, and our last is from 3 to 4. So depending on your cutting height, you do need to make sure you're adjusting both this anti-scalping wheel and the one on the other side to make sure that that deck isn't happening to hit the ground and leave scalp marks in your yard. So very important here. Next thing that we have is going to be our flip open spindle covers. Now I'm a huge fan of these, as cleaning off your mower deck and keeping your mower deck clean is huge to the life of this mower. So these are very easy to raise up, make sure that we can blow out all that material whenever we're done mowing. And you specifically want to try to stick with using air on these mowers as much as possible. That way you avoid any damage from rust, water, any residue buildup with that water. So it specifically tells you here on the spindle cover to use air, not water. So very easy to raise that up. You're also going to see that you will have a grease point. It's kind of hard to see from where you are, but it's right here underneath this spindle. You will have a grease point on each one of your spindles. Now on a 48-inch deck, you will have 3 blades, which means you will have 3 spindles. So we need to make sure that we are following our operator manual and service interval chart and making sure that we are greasing these spindles on the times that they need to be greased. Now one other thing that we have here on these Z365Rs, we do have a washout port. Now this does have an end that slips on the top of it. They are not put on during shipping to make sure that they're not damaged, but there is an end that slips on the top here where we can simply connect our water hose, lower this mower deck all the way to the ground on a concrete or asphalt surface, hook that water hose up, turn the water on, then turn our mower on and the blades, and that will clean the underside of this deck. Now, you don't want to do this all the time unless you're in an environment where you have a ton of buildup in this deck, but it's very important that we keep this deck clean to make sure that we don't have buildup, because with buildup you will have increased spots where moisture can stay and cause rust spots. But one advantage that you will have by having this stamped steel deck is you'll see that all of your edges are curved, which is going to make it a lot harder for debris and buildup to occur with having that curvature, because you're going to have increased airflow to be moving that material out. You won't have corners like you would have on welded decks where that material can easily build up. So that is an advantage, and that is a nice thing about having this washout port, is it will work well with the airflow of this mower. Now, over here on the right hand side is where we're going to have our discharge chute. Now, like I said before, we do have the mulch control kit put on. So right now we have that in the closed position and our lever is right here. So if I flip this forward, now we're in the open position, so you can see that that is open. I can stick my hand all the way inside there to the blades, and that's going to allow that material to go ahead and push on out. We also, like you can see here, have a spring-loaded chute cover. That's going to be a nice feature to have to make sure you keep debris and stuff, help to keep debris off of you in the operator station and keep that deflected out and away. And then once again, we will have our raise and lower spindle covers here, easily to open those up, blow that stuff out, keep that clean. And once again, we do have that anti-scalping wheel. Just remember, like we said on the other side, that make sure and adjust these to the height that you are normally going to be cutting at. Now, another thing that we need to point out here is we talked a little bit about keeping your deck level on these machines, and so that is very important. And where that's going to take place, a little hard to see, but right here we have this nut system right here where we can adjust our deck level. And I will actually put out a video on our other channel, 247parts.com, explaining exactly how to level that deck. So be looking in the description down below here for the link to that video, as I will be adding that to this one, along with a service video for this mower to show me going over those service points at the engine a little more in detail. Now let's talk a little bit about dimensions and capacities, as this is going to be a very important section of this video to make sure that you know how much fuel you can carry and just how big this machine is, so we know if we can get it in and out of this place where we're going to be storing it. So overall length, we're going to be at 72 inches long, just a touch over 72. And then overall width, with our mower deck on and our deflector down, we're going to be at about 63 inches. Now, if we raise that deflector up for storage, we can narrow that down to 54 inches. And then we're going to be about 40 inches tall here at the top of the seat, which is going to be your highest spot. And then we're also going to come in at an overall weight of 575 pounds. Now, as far as the fuel capacity goes, we are going to have a 2.1 gallon tank on this machine. So that is roughly what we see is about a gallon an hour usage. So you will have at least a full 2 hours on this machine with a tank of fuel. So you'll have that in mind whenever you are doing your mowing. Guys, I hope this video was helpful. I hope that I was able to answer any of those questions that you had out there on this Z365R. And if I happen to miss anything, or you have any other questions, make sure to leave those down in the comments section below. And also, guys, if you like this video, we just ask that you'd hit that like button and also give us a subscribe, as that helps us out as well. And also make sure that if you want to see those leveling videos on the deck and the service videos here at the rear, that you check out those links in the description below, and check out and subscribe to our other channel, 247parts.com, for all of those how-to videos. And guys, if you have any other John Deere parts needs, maybe you need the tools to service this deck, maybe you need to change that belt, service this engine, make sure to check us out at 247parts.com. I'll also have that link in the description below. And as always, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Hey guys, make sure to check out this cool video and this one. Buy your parts right up here and subscribe right here.